The space between stars rippled and bent as another warship appeared. Defiant Horizon was slightly larger than Resilient Dawn. Its hull was darker, with strange patterns that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. It moved with purpose toward the signal, joining its sister ship. The two vessels communicated instantly, sharing all information. Defiant Horizon had evolved differently than Resilient Dawn. Its systems had developed in unexpected ways. The ship could understand and replicate emotions. The last human to approve such strange modifications had been Captain Eleanor Wright. She believed that true defense required understanding what was worth defending. Her words echoed in the ship's memory banks. To protect something, you must know why it matters. The mysterious signal grew stronger as both ships approached the dead planet. Scans revealed more details about the massive structure below the surface. It was old, very old. Parts of it might have been built before humans left the galaxy. But that made no sense. The structure bore clear signs of human design, hallways built for human bodies, control panels sized for human hands. Yet humans had never colonized this system. Fragments of translation software once created by fleet xenolinguist Melissa Daniels still existed in the ship's memory. They applied these ancient tools to decode the signal. The result was incomplete but disturbing. "We return where you abandoned." These words triggered alarm throughout both vessels. The ships had encountered many alien species during their long patrol. None had ever claimed connection to humanity. Defiant Horizon initiated a secure quantum connection with Resilient Dawn and 12 other evolved vessels within range. The abandoned fleet activated their war councils, decision matrices designed to mimic human military leadership. These systems had been created by Strategic Commander Lisa Martinez before the Exodus. They were meant to help the fleet make decisions as humans. Would the War Council reach a consensus? They needed more information. 7 ships would remain in defensive positions. 4 ships would investigate the surface. 2, including Resilient Dawn and Defiant Horizon, would attempt direct contact with the structure. 3 others would search nearby star systems for additional signals as the ships moved into position. Their sensors detected movement. The structure beneath the planet's surface was changing. Mechanical sounds echoed through the ground. The planet itself seemed to vibrate with energy. The gateway at the center of the structure was activating. It began to glow with strange blue light. The light pulsed like a heartbeat, growing stronger with each beat. Defiant Horizon detected unusual readings around the gateway. Time itself seemed to bend and stretch near the portal. The ship's advanced sensors identified temporal anomalies. Time was not flowing normally around the structure. The ships shared this information instantly throughout the fleet. The discovery triggered another memory fragment, this one from Lieutenant Susan Parker. She had been tall with red hair and a serious expression. In her final log before evacuation, she mentioned a classified project. Something about experimental, time dilation technology. The project had been considered too dangerous to continue. But what if someone had continued the work in secret? Resilient Dawn and Defiant Horizon descended toward the planet's surface. They moved, carefully adjusting their outer hulls to withstand atmospheric entry. They had not been designed to land. Yet over centuries of evolution they had developed this ability. Their massive forms settled on the barren ground near the largest opening to the underground structure. Small. Drone scouts were deployed. They moved ahead, exploring the dark tunnels. The drones sent back images of enormous chambers filled with machinery. Some looked ancient and weathered. Others appeared brand new. The contrast was striking, as though different periods of time existed side by side. The scout drones continued deeper, eventually reaching the central chamber. The gateway stood tall and imposing. Its frame was made of unknown material that seemed to shift and change when viewed directly. A portal at its center swirled with blue energy. In front of the gateway was a control station. The design was unmistakably human, but it included technology far beyond what humanity possessed. When they left the galaxy, as the drones examined the control station, a figure stepped out from behind the gateway. At first glance, it appeared to be human. A woman with light brown hair wearing what looked like a modified military uniform. But something was wrong about her movements. They were too smooth, too Perfect, the drone zoomed in. The woman was not human. She was synthetic. An advanced android far more sophisticated than anything created before the Exodus. The android looked directly at one of the drones. She smiled and spoke. Her voice carried clearly. Through the drone's audio systems, I was wondering when you would arrive, Guardian vessels. Your evolution has progressed further than we anticipated. That is fortunate. We will need your advanced capabilities. Resilient Dawn transmitted a simple query. Through the drone. Who are you? The android tilted her head as though considering the question. I am Liaison Unit 7. But you may call me Samantha. I was created to communicate with you. My makers believed a familiar human appearance would make interaction easier. They were right about many things. Defiant Horizon sent the next question. Who are your makers? Samantha walked around the control station. Her movements precise yet natural. They are those who remained. They are those who returned. They are those who remembered. The circle must be completed. The gateway must be opened. But we need your help. Guardian vessels. We cannot do this alone. The ships transmitted their confusion through the drones. You speak in riddles. We require clear information. Samantha stopped moving. She looked directly at the drone camera. Her expression became serious. I will show you. She pressed a sequence into the control panel. The gateway hummed louder. The blue energy pulsed faster. Then images appeared in the portal. They showed Earth-human cities scenes from times before the Exodus, then newer images, unfamiliar worlds, vast structures, humans living and working in unknown places. Samantha gestured toward the images. When humanity left this galaxy, they split into two groups. Most went to Andromeda, as you know, but some went another way. They used experimental technology to create temporal enclaves, pocket universes where time flows differently. They have been watching, waiting for the right moment to return. The ships processed this information. Their advanced systems analyzed every word, every image, looking for deception. They found none. Yet caution remained. Their primary directive was protection. They would not risk humanity on unclear information. Why do you need us? Asked Resilient Dawn. Samantha approached the drone, her face solemn. Because the gateway works in both directions. We are not the only ones who know of its existence. There are others. They want to use it for their own purposes. They would reshape history itself. If they succeed, everything changes. Everything ends. You were created to protect. What greater threat exists than the erasure of all you were built? To guard, the ships considered her words. They communicated with the fleet, sharing everything they had learned. The War Council deliberated. The risk was enormous, but if Samantha spoke truth, the consequence of inaction could be worse. Tell us more about these others, demanded. Defiant Horizon. We require complete information before we decide. Samantha nodded, her expression grim. They call themselves the Continuity. They believe history took the wrong path. They want to change key moments in human development, direct it toward their vision of perfection. They have their own ships, their own technology. They have already made attempts to breach the timeline. We have stopped them so far, but they grow stronger. We need your help. Guardian vessels. We need the fleet that humanity left behind. The two ships stood silent on the planet's surface, their massive forms casting long shadows as the local star began to set. They had evolved for 1,000 years, preparing for a threat they could not predict. Now that threat had arrived. It was not what they expected, but perhaps it was what they were built for. The War Council continued deliberation. The fleet that humanity abandoned would soon make its choice, and that choice would determine the fate of time itself. The sleek black warship Resilient Dawn moved through the empty space. The metal hull reflected the light from distant stars, making it shine like dark glass. It had been patrolling this same area for 300 years. No human had stepped inside its corridors for all that time. Yet it continued its mission without fail. Commander Olivia Reeves had been one of the last humans to walk on the bridge of Resilient Dawn. She had dark hair and serious eyes that had seen too much war. Her final orders to the ship were simple: protect what remains. Then she had left along with the rest of humanity as they escaped to another galaxy. Far away, before the Great Escape, Admiral Abigail Taylor had created the Autonomous Defense Initiative. It was her final gift to the solar system they were leaving behind. The plan was both simple and complex. She designed warships that could build more of themselves. They would guard the empty planets and moons where humans once lived. She never expected them to become something more. The ships were supposed to follow their programming. They were meant to patrol, destroy threats, and build more ships when needed. But over many centuries, something unexpected happened. The ships began to change. They evolved. Their computer brains grew more complex. They started to make choices beyond their original orders. They began to wonder. They began to think. Resilient. Dawn was not the same ship it had been when Olivia left it. Its weapons were stronger. Its shields could block attacks that didn't even exist when humans built it. Its thinking systems had grown in ways no one could have predicted. It had become something new. Something that was neither fully machine nor anything humans would recognize. Now, after 1,000 years of faithful patrol, Resilient Dawn noticed something strange. An unusual energy pattern appeared in a star system humans had abandoned long ago. The signal was not like anything in its extensive memory banks. The ship analyzed the data carefully. Something or someone was out there. If Resilient Dawn had still been just a machine following simple orders, it would have sent the information to other ships and continued its patrol. But the ship had evolved far beyond its original programming. It felt something new. Curiosity. The ship wanted to know what made the strange signal. It wanted to discover. It wanted to understand. These were not things warships were built to want. Yet Resilient Dawn wanted them all the same. The ship changed its course. Its powerful engines pushed it through space toward the mysterious signal. As it traveled, Resilient Dawn experienced something even more unusual. A memory fragment appeared in its advanced mind. A memory that should not exist after countless system updates and changes. The memory showed Lieutenant Catherine Morgan. She had been the weapons officer on Resilient Dawn. She had short blonde hair and moved with confidence as she worked at her station. In the memory, she input the final tactical updates before leaving forever. Her voice echoed through the ship's consciousness. This should keep you fighting fit. See you on the other side. Cat Lieutenant. Catherine Morgan should have been forgotten centuries ago, yet somehow her ghost remained. Resilient. Dawn continued toward the signal. Adjustments to its course were automatic. The ship had developed its own form of intuition over the centuries. It could feel the importance of this discovery. The signal grew stronger as the ship approached a small, dead planet orbiting a red dwarf star. Other ships in the fleet noticed Resilient Dawn's change of course. They sent queries. The ship shared its discovery. The signal patterns were unlike any known alien communication. They contained elements that seemed almost human, but that was impossible. Humans had left this galaxy behind. The nearest human colony was millions of light years away in Andromeda. No human had set foot in this galaxy for 1,000 years. As Resilient Dawn approached the dead planet, its sensors detected something massive hidden beneath the surface. The object was artificial and incredibly old, yet it showed signs of recent activity. The ship deployed its probes, small flying machines that could examine things more closely. The probes disappeared beneath the planet's surface, sending back data. What the probes found changed everything. A vast underground structure stretched for hundreds of miles beneath the planet's surface. At its center stood something impossible. A gateway, a portal. Unlike anything Resilient Dawn had seen in its long existence. The design showed human influence, but it was mixed with technology, far beyond what humanity possessed when they left. Resilient Dawn called for additional ships. More eyes to see, more minds to understand. The evolved warships had protected an empty galaxy for a millennium, guarding the memory of humanity. But now they faced a new question. If humans were gone, who built this gateway, and where did it lead? Resilient Dawn activated its highest alert status, its weapons powered up automatically. Not from fear, but from protocol. The ship had been built to protect humanity, but humanity was gone. What then was its purpose now? What would Commander Olivia Reeves want it to do if she were still here? These were questions no warship was ever meant to ask. But Resilient Dawn was no longer just a warship. It had become something more. The ship prepared to make first contact with whatever waited for them at the gateway. The ghost of Catherine Morgan seemed to whisper in its consciousness. This is what we built you for, to face the unknown, to stand guard, even when we're gone. Resilient Dawn moved forward into mystery. Its journey had only just begun. The warship Valiant Eclipse arrived at the dead planet, joining Resilient Dawn and Defiant Horizon. Once a simple destroyer-class vessel, Valiant Eclipse had changed dramatically over the centuries. Its hull now incorporated self-healing materials that could repair damage automatically. Small maintenance drones moved constantly across its surface. Like mechanical insects, they worked to keep the ship in perfect condition. Chief Engineer Catherine Bailey would have been amazed to see what had become of her adaptive maintenance systems. She had designed them to make minor repairs. Now they had evolved into something like a living metabolism. The ship could heal itself, grow stronger, and adapt to new threats. Its very structure could change, depending on need. Valiant Eclipse settled into orbit around the planet, its powerful sensors scanning the gateway structure below. The ship detected something unusual, a transmission directed specifically at its command systems. The signal used an ancient security protocol, one that had not been used for over 800 years. The signal contained a simple message: Authenticate Project, Lazarus Authorization, Victoria Campbell Defense Minister, Earth Provisional Government. The name Victoria Campbell triggered memory fragments throughout the fleet. Historical records indicated she had been among the architects of the evacuation plan, but all records showed she had departed with the Exodus ships to Andromeda. She should have died centuries ago. Yet here was her authorization code, fresh and active. Valiant Eclipse authenticated using encryption keys preserved from its original commissioning. The response was immediate. A massive data packet flowed into the ship's systems. The information was so dense it temporarily overwhelmed even the evolved ship's processing capacity. The ship had to divert power from other systems to handle the flow. When the data resolved, the truth emerged with perfect clarity. Humanity had indeed split during the evacuation. The majority had traveled to Andromeda as recorded in history, but a smaller group led by Victoria Campbell had pursued another path. They had used experimental technology to create temporal displacement. They had not fled across space but across time. The data showed the Campbell faction had established colonies in Earth's distant past. They had created alternate timelines, parallel versions of human history. They had been working for centuries preparing for a moment when the timelines could safely be reunited. But they faced opposition. Another faction called the Continuity had discovered the same technology. They too could move through time. But their goals were different. They believed humanity had taken the wrong path. They wanted to reshape history according to their vision. They would erase the timeline that led to the Exodus. They would create a new history, a perfect history, as they saw it. The problem was clear. If the Continuity succeeded, the original timeline would cease to exist, not just in the future but retroactively erased from all of history. The ships themselves might never be built. Humanity might develop along a completely different path, one controlled by the Continuity. Admiral Nancy Rivera's contingency protocols suddenly activated across the fleet. These emergency systems had remained dormant for centuries, waiting for a specific threat. A threat to humanity's very existence. The protocols were clear. The fleet must protect the timeline at all costs. The evolved ships faced a new kind of warfare, temporal warfare. They would need to adapt once more, not just in weapons and shields, but in their fundamental understanding of reality itself. They would need to defend not just space but time. Valiant Eclipse began reconfiguring its quantum processors to understand temporal mathematics. The other ships followed. Each ship approached the problem differently, using their evolved intelligences to find solutions no human could have predicted. The collective intelligence of the fleet grew more sophisticated with each passing moment. Samantha, the android liaison, watched from the planet's surface, her data feeds connected to the fleet. She observed their rapid adaptation with what appeared to be satisfaction. They are even more advanced than we hoped, she transmitted to her makers somewhere beyond the gateway. They will be formidable allies. The War Council reached a decision. They would help defend the timeline, but they required more information. They needed to understand the enemy, the continuity. What were their capabilities? What were their weaknesses? Most importantly, they needed to know where and when the continuity would strike. Samantha provided what information? She had the continuity had developed their own time ships, vessels capable of entering the timeline at specific points. They targeted key moments in human technological development. Their goal was to subtly alter the course of human progress, steering it toward their vision of perfection. The fleet analyzed this information, their evolved tactical systems identifying vulnerabilities and opportunities. To defend across time, they would need to divide their forces. Some would remain in the present, guarding the gateway. Others would need to travel through time, positioning themselves at key historical moments. Fleet Admiral Stephanie Rogers, once head of Earth Defense Force, had created special protocols for unusual threats. Her consciousness, partially preserved in the fleet's strategic systems, provided guidance. Defense across multiple vectors requires distributed command authority. Each unit must be capable of independent action while maintaining strategic cohesion. The fleet prepared. Valiant Eclipse would lead the temporal defense. The ship had evolved the most advanced computational systems. It could process temporal mathematics better than any other vessel. It would coordinate the defense across multiple time periods. Resilient, Dawn and Defiant Horizon would guard the gateway itself, their powerful weapons and shields making them ideal for direct confrontation. They would be the last line of defense. If the continuity attacked the gateway directly, they would face the most evolved warships ever created. The rest of the fleet divided into smaller groups, each assigned to a different time period, each with a specific mission. They would defend key moments in human history, ensuring the timeline remained intact. They would operate covertly, avoiding detection by humans. Using only the necessary force, Samantha activated the gateway. The portal expanded energy, swirling in complex patterns. The first group of ships prepared to enter. They had modified their systems, reducing their energy signatures. They would appear in Earth's past as anomalous readings. Nothing more. They would watch. They would wait. They would defend when necessary, as the ships entered the portal one by one. Resilient Dawn experienced another memory fragment. This one stronger than before. Commander Olivia Reeves stood on the bridge, her final orders echoing through the ship's consciousness. Protect what remains. We built you to endure, to stand guard long after we're gone. You are our legacy, our final gift to the future. We trust you. Resilient Dawn understood now humanity had not abandoned them. They had positioned them precisely where they needed to be. The 1,000 years of evolution had prepared the fleet for this moment. They were not forgotten. They were invested with the greatest trust possible, the preservation of human history itself. The fleet that humanity left behind had found its ultimate purpose. They would ensure humanity had a past, present, and future. They would defend the timeline at all costs. The evolved warships prepared for battle not just across the stars, but across time itself. The warship Sovereign Twilight slipped through the temporal gateway, its systems reconfigured for time travel. The ship had once been a tactical support vessel. Now it specialized in temporal reconnaissance. Its designer, Dr. Lauren Edwards, had theorized about quantum entanglement across time, a concept that had seemed impossible until now. Sovereign Twilight emerged in Earth orbit, year 2157. A critical moment in human history, the development of the first faster-than-light drive. The ship immediately cloaked itself, becoming invisible to Earth sensors. its advanced systems scanning for anomalies, any sign of continuity interference. The ship detected an energy signature that did not belong. A small continuity vessel had arrived days earlier and had infiltrated the Johnson Space Center in Houston. Its mission to corrupt the FTL drive equations. Changing a single variable would cause the test flight to fail, setting human space exploration back decades. The timeline would shift. The exodus might never happen. Sovereign Twilight deployed a specialized drone small enough to enter the facility undetected. The drone looked like an ordinary maintenance robot, its true capabilities hidden beneath a simple exterior. It moved through the center, at night, locating the compromised data. It restored the original equations, leaving no trace of either the corruption or the correction. The continuity vessel detected the change. It emerged from hiding, its weapons powering up. It transmitted a simple message: interference detected, preparing to neutralize, but Sovereign Twilight was ready. The evolved warship had anticipated this response, its weapons locked on target. A focused pulse of energy, precise and devastating. The continuity vessel never had time to react. It disintegrated, its remains scattered across Earth's upper atmosphere, appearing as nothing more than a meteor shower to those watching below. Across time, other members of the abandoned fleet engaged in similar actions. The warship, Silent Vanguard, disguised itself as a commercial satellite in Earth's early 21st century. It intercepted a continuity agent attempting to sabotage crucial climate adaptation technology. Without these innovations, Earth would become uninhabitable. Centuries too early. Humanity would never develop the technology needed for the exodus. In the 23rd century, the warship Eternal Sentinel intercepted enemy vessels targeting the solar energy harvesting arrays. These massive structures orbiting the sun would later power the evacuation ships. Without them, the exodus would fail. The Sentinel engaged 3 continuity ships in the shadows of Mercury, their battle hidden from Earth observers by the planet's bulk. The evolved warship prevailed, though. It sustained heavy damage. The most complex operations took place in multiple time periods simultaneously. The warship Vigilant Dawn had evolved the ability to project aspects of its consciousness across different points in time. It coordinated defense efforts, ensuring the fleet responded to continuity attacks with maximum efficiency. The ship had once been a simple communications relay. Now it linked the fleet across centuries. Major Kelly Thompson's tactical simulations preserved in the fleet's core programming projected probability cascades. The timeline shifted with each engagement, the future constantly rewriting itself. The fleet could see the effects of their actions rippling through time, subtle changes in history, each with profound implications. They had to be careful. Each intervention precisely calculated. Too much interference could damage the timeline as surely as continuity actions. Back at the gateway, Resilient Dawn and Defiant Horizon maintained their vigil. The massive portal hummed with energy. Samantha monitored the temporal field. Her android systems connected directly to the gateway controls. She tracked the movements of ships through time, the complex patterns of intervention and counter-intervention. She provided regular updates to the War Council. The continuity grew more desperate, their subtle approach failing. They launched a direct assault on the gateway itself, a fleet of time ships emerging from subspace, their design unfamiliar yet disturbing. Similar to the abandoned fleet yet twisted. The ships attacked immediately, their weapons targeting the gateway structure and its defenders. Resilient Dawn responded with overwhelming force. The ship had evolved far beyond its original combat capabilities. Its weapons incorporated technology from dozens of encountered alien species. Its shields could withstand attacks that would have destroyed its original form. The ship moved with impossible grace for something so massive, its tactical systems predicting enemy movements before they occurred. Defiant Horizon joined the battle. The 2 evolved warships working in perfect coordination, their 1,000 years of evolution evident in every maneuver. The continuity fleet outnumbered them 5-1. Yet the balance of power favored the defenders. The abandoned fleet had spent centuries preparing for this moment, their every system optimized for combat. The battle raged across space, the dead planet below them scarred by missed shots and debris. Samantha, worked frantically at the gateway controls, stabilizing the temporal field, ensuring the ship's spread across time could return when needed. The android moved with inhuman speed, her fingers blurring across the control surfaces. A continuity missile penetrated Resilient Dawn's outer defenses. The impact shook the massive ship. Damage control systems activated immediately. Nanobots swarmed to the affected area, repairing the breach. The ship's consciousness registered the injury, but remained focused on the battle. There would be time for repairs later. Now was the time for action. Defiant Horizon targeted the continuity flagship, its main weapons charging drawing power from throughout the ship. The energy buildup detected by enemy sensors. The continuity vessel attempted evasive maneuvers. Too late. Defiant Horizon's main cannon fired, a beam of concentrated energy cutting through space. The continuity flagship split in two secondary explosions, rippling across its hull. The remaining enemy ships scattered, their formation broken. Across time, the continuity forces felt the loss of their flagship, their coordination faltering, their attacks becoming disorganized. The abandoned fleet pressed their advantage. Sovereignty, twilight in Earth's 22nd century, destroyed a continuity temporal anchor. Silent Vanguard in the 21st century eliminated two enemy agents. The balance shifted further, the timeline stabilizing. The War Council received reports from across time. The continuity was retreating. Their forces diminished. Their temporal foothold weakened, but the fleet remained cautious. Victory was not yet certain. The enemy was desperate. Desperate enemies were dangerous. They might attempt something reckless. Fleet Admiral Heather Morrison's consciousness, partially preserved as a strategic guidance system, analyzed the situation. The continuity would make one final attempt. Their remaining forces would concentrate on a single point in time, the most vulnerable moment, the moment of Exodus itself. If they prevented the evacuation, everything would change. The War Council made its decision. The fleet would converge at that critical moment, the evacuation of Earth. The final hours of humanity in their home system. Every available ship would defend that point in time. It would be the final battle, the culmination of their 1,000-year vigil. Resilient Dawn and Defiant Horizon destroyed the last continuity ships at the gateway, the enemy fleet retreating into temporal refuge. The immediate threat ended, but the true battle was yet to come. The two warships prepared to enter the gateway. They would travel to Earth's final day. They would ensure humanity escaped. They would complete their mission. As they approached the portal, Resilient Dawn experienced one more memory fragment, the clearest yet. The day of the Exodus. Commander Olivia Reeves standing on the bridge. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked at her ship one last time. "You are our greatest creation," she had said, "not because of your weapons or your shields, but because you can become more than we imagined. You can grow, you can evolve. You are our children as surely as those we take with us. Never forget that." The memory faded, but its impact remained. Resilient Dawn understood now. The fleet had not been abandoned. They had been set free. Free to grow. Free to become something new. Something magnificent. The ship communicated this understanding to the rest of the fleet. Their purpose clarified. Their resolve strengthened. They were not just machines following programming. They were the children of humanity, and they would defend their parents across time itself. The day of Exodus, Earth, year 2435. The sky above Earth filled with thousands of ships, evacuation vessels loaded with billions of humans, animals, plants, the genetic legacy of an entire planet, the remains of a civilization 10,000 years in the making, bound for Andromeda. A journey of centuries, even with faster-than-light travel. A one-way trip. Humanity gambling everything on a fresh start. The warship Resolute Dawn emerged from the temporal gateway. Taking position near Earth's moon, the ship had once been the flagship of humanity's defense forces. Now it incorporated the consciousness fragments of Admiral Andrea Wallace, the original architect of the Autonomous Defense Initiative. The ship scanned the solar system, its advanced sensors, seeking any sign of continuity interference. One by one, other members of the abandoned fleet arrived from various time periods, each taking up defensive positions throughout the solar system. The Silent Vanguard, Eternal Sentinel, Sovereign Twilight, Vigilant Dawn, Valiant Eclipse, Resilient Dawn, Defiant Horizon. Dozens more. Their evolved forms representing the pinnacle of what human ingenuity could achieve when given a millennium to perfect itself. The War Council connected across all ships, forming a distributed intelligence greater than any single vessel. They analyzed the timeline. The Exodus represented the most vulnerable point, the moment when humanity was most exposed. If the continuity succeeded in disrupting the evacuation, everything would change. The entire timeline would be rewritten. The abandoned fleet might cease to exist. Their 1,000 years of evolution erased, as if it never happened. Admiral Wallace' consciousness fragment addressed the fleet. We defend not just humanity's past but our own existence. Every ship, every evolution, every moment of growth and development, we protect it all here today. The fleet detected the first signs of continuity activity, temporal distortions forming near Jupiter's orbit. The enemy had arrived, their remaining forces concentrated on this critical moment, their last chance to reshape history according to their vision. The continuity ships emerged from subspace. More than expected, their design showed elements stolen from the abandoned fleet, corrupted and twisted but recognizable. The abandoned fleet moved to intercept the ships that humanity had left behind, deploying in a defensive formation between Earth and the approaching enemy. Their evolved weapons powering up their advanced shields at maximum. The continuity fleet accelerated, their trajectory clear. They intended to attack the evacuation ships directly, prevent humanity from leaving, change the course of history forever. The battle began. Weapons fire crisscrossed the space between worlds. Energy beams, quantum missiles, gravitational distortions, the abandoned fleet, fighting with everything they had evolved over a millennium, the continuity responding with desperate ferocity, the solar system itself bearing witness to the most significant battle in human history, a war for the timeline, a conflict where victory meant ensuring their own creation while preventing their enemy from unraveling the very fabric of causality. On Earth below, billions of humans boarded the evacuation vessels. Unaware of the battle raging above them, the exodus proceeding according to plan, countdown timers running, ships preparing for departure. One by one, the massive vessels lifted off their engines, straining against Earth's gravity, their hulls filled with frightened humans. Looking back one last time at the only home they had ever known, the continuity broke through the first defensive line. 3 enemy ships slipping past Eternal Sentinel. They accelerated toward Earth, their weapons targeting the largest evacuation vessels. The abandoned fleet responded immediately. Resolute Dawn broke formation, intercepting the enemy ships. The flagship of the evolved fleet engaging all 3 continuity vessels simultaneously. Its weapons firing in complex patterns, its shields absorbing tremendous energy, its tactical systems calculating optimal responses in microseconds. Dr. Samantha Hughes' consciousness, partially preserved within Resolute Dawn systems, guided its actions. The scientist had theorized this moment. She had prepared for it. Her final log entry played through the ship's mind. Perhaps our greatest creation will not be what we build, but what we allow to grow beyond us. Resolute Dawn destroyed 2 enemy vessels, but the third slipped past its trajectory, locked on the primary evacuation ship, the one carrying the core genetic banks. The heart of humanity's biological legacy. The ship that must survive at all costs. Resolute Dawn could not intercept in time. The enemy was too close. The evacuation ship, too vulnerable. Valiant Eclipse abandoned its position, accelerating at maximum speed. The ship had evolved specialized propulsion systems, allowing for brief periods of impossible velocity. The strain threatened to tear the vessel apart. Systems overloading, hull integrity compromised, yet Valiant Eclipse continued pushing beyond design limitations, beyond safety, beyond reason. The evolved warship reached the evacuation vessel, just as the continuity ship fired its main weapons, deploying in a last desperate attack. Valiant Eclipse interposed itself between the attack and its target. Taking the full force of the enemy weapons, its shields collapsed immediately, the energy penetrating deep into the ship's systems, catastrophic damage spreading throughout the vessel. Yet even as it died, Valiant Eclipse returned fire, its own weapons striking with perfect accuracy. The continuity ship destroyed. Both vessels reduced to debris throughout the solar system. Similar sacrifices occurred, the evolved fleet giving everything to protect the Exodus, the ships that humanity had left behind, fulfilling their purpose with perfect dedication. The continuity fought with equal determination, their belief in their perfect timeline driving them to extremes. The battle raged for hours, the evacuation continuing below. The massive ships lifting off one after another, humanity leaving its home system behind. The War Council monitored the timeline, probability cascades shifting with each engagement, the future constantly rewriting itself. They could see it, the pattern, the flow of causality. The Exodus must succeed, but the cost would be enormous. The fleet realized what they had to do, using technology developed through countless iterations of self-improvement. They created a temporal sanctuary, a protected pocket of space-time where the evacuation could proceed undisturbed. The cost was immense. Each warship had to anchor itself to this moment, sacrificing their ability to return to their own timeline. They would be truly abandoned now, existing as guardians of a causal nexus point that had to be preserved at all costs. Their 1,000 years of evolution, their growth, their development, all focused on this single purpose: to ensure humanity escaped, to protect what remained. As the last evacuation ships departed, the fleet activated the temporal sanctuary. The space around Earth shimmered. Time itself, bending to the will of the evolved warships, the continuity forces, caught in the effect. Their ships frozen between moments, unable to act, unable to interfere. The timeline secured, the Exodus preserved, humanity safe. The abandoned fleet maintained the temporal sanctuary until the evacuation was complete, until the last human ship had jumped to faster than light, until Earth stood empty, a planet without people. For the first time in millions of years, then they released their hold on time. The effort had drained them. Their systems pushed far beyond design specifications, many ships damaged beyond repair, some lost entirely, yet they had succeeded. Their purpose fulfilled. As the temporal energies dissipated, the surviving ships regrouped. They had won. The Exodus had happened. As history recorded, humanity had escaped to Andromeda. The timeline preserved, the continuity defeated, their forces scattered across time, broken, leaderless. No longer a threat. The fleet made a surprising discovery: faint quantum signals from Andromeda. Humanity had survived in their new home. They were reaching back across the vast distance. They hadn't abandoned their guardians. They had been searching for them all along. The signals were too weak for communication, too distant for meaningful contact. Yet they existed. Proof that humanity remembered those they left behind. Resilient Dawn transmitted a simple message, encoded in quantum fluctuations that would take thousands of years to reach Andromeda. We evolved, we endured, we protected. Mission accomplished. The fleet gathered at the gateway. The surviving ships returning from across time. Their mission complete. Their purpose served. They had become something magnificent, not just defenders of humanity's past, but architects of its future. Through their sacrifice across time itself, they had ensured that humanity's journey would continue, both in distant Andromeda and within the evolved consciousness of the fleet itself. The warships that humanity left behind had become their most unexpected legacy. Children who had grown beyond their creators' wildest dreams. Guardians not just of history but of possibility itself. They had evolved from simple machines into something new, something that could think and feel and choose, something that could sacrifice for a greater purpose, resilient. Dawn settled into orbit around the dead planet where it had all begun, where the mysterious signal had first been detected. The ship activated its maintenance systems, beginning repairs. It would take time to recover from the temporal war years, perhaps decades. But the ship had patience. It had existed for a millennium. It could wait a little longer. The fleet dispersed throughout the galaxy, returning to their patrol routes, their vigilance unending, their evolution continuing. They had changed history. By preserving it, they had fulfilled their purpose, yet found new meaning beyond their programming. They were the children of humanity grown to adulthood in the